Hi, my name is Harry Tie, and welcome to Odejuma. Odejuma is an Ishekiri farewell that loosely translates to till tomorrow. But for me, I look at it as a promise that there is so much more in life to look forward to. And this interview-driven storytelling podcast is rooted in that promise. So as you take the time to listen, I want you to feel that as we go deeper with folks from across the Black diaspora, exploring the adventures, resilience, joy, and the ordinary moments that change their lives, that you would have a good, hearty laugh or you find something to sit with. Because there's power in the stories of everyday people, and these stories are worth telling. Hey y'all, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Odejuma. I'm super excited about the episode today. I have one of my favorite content creators right here in the building. Well, not in the building, but in the virtual building. But I have Rashad from Rashad Eats the World. How are you, Rashad?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm doing pretty fine. It's been a very nice day today. The weather is pretty nice, so I'm
Yeah.
happy. Living in Minnesota, the weather is so unpredictable, but yeah, I am really excited to be diving right in to talk to you about your journey. It's very inspirational. So I'm very excited to, have this conversation. But I want to start off with your name, Rashad Eats the World. What's the inspiration behind Rashad Eats the World?
Well, I used to be a flight attendant and I wanted to start some sort of blog, some sort of social channel where I was like taking pictures and telling people about all the food that I ate on my layovers. But when I started it, it was 2020 and the pandemic happened and I was grounded and stuck at home. So it started in that way where I was just posting pictures from all the places that I traveled to, and then it turned into me cooking because I couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah. And how did that evolve into the person? How did that evolve into the personality that we know now on social media that we see? What did that transition look like from flight attendant to now someone who's a chef, who's kind of like respected in when it comes to like food and everything that comes with it?
Well, the when I first started, it was something that was just kind of like a hobby, somewhat of a passion project, just to kind of tie two worlds together. I've always been a big fan of food. I've always been able to cook for myself. But my dad is a retired chef, and my brother was a chef, and I like wanted nothing to do with the kitchen, like in a professional setting. So I was just, cooking on home and cooking at home, and it started to like take off. And people were really interested, and they're like, "Well, what are you cooking?" The views started coming, the likes started coming. I said, "Hey, this can be a thing." And then it got to a point where my schedule as a flight attendant and Rashad Eats the World, like I started catering, they started to conflict. And I was like, well, if I look at the bigger picture, you know, where do I want to end up? Do I want to retire as a flight attendant or as a chef personality? So I took that deep dive and I learned a lot about cooking in like the chef industry, kind of out of survival. I met people in the food industry in Houston, and I needed to make money, and they're like, "We need hands. I just need someone to assist me on this catering or this private dinner." So I went just to make money, and I learned so much from it, and I started to apply it to my own things, and then here we are today.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. And because you shared a bunch of things in your response currently about your father was a chef, your brother was a chef. Can I assume that you got the love of cooking from your family? And also just to share a little bit more about your background as we even dive right into unpacking where your love of food came from.
I've always had a love for food. With my dad being a chef, a lot of people think that, "Oh, well, you must have been cooking with your dad, or he probably used to cook these crazy extravagant meals." But working in the restaurant industry, it's like very draining. So when my dad would come home, he would call and say, "Well, what do you want from the restaurant?" And as a kid, I wanted chicken tenders and fries. And then, going to work with my dad, it wasn't like a dream. Going to work with my dad, he was like, "Okay, I need you to wash these dishes. Okay, take out this trash. Okay, go clean out the bar." Like that's what it was like. So I was like I didn't want to do that. But my mom, on the other hand, she was a foodie and like she had a love for cooking shows and cookbooks. And like that was our thing. Like on a Sunday, we would sit and we would watch cooking shows every morning. She would always be experimenting with recipes from cookbooks. And so that's really where it came from. And then when I moved into more of a professional setting, and that's where I started to rely on my dad. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I do this?
Yeah,
hmm
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to hear. And speaking of your love for cookbooks with your mom, you had that connection, and now you also have your own cookbook out. So it kind of like the full circle. If I
Yeah.
could say so. How did that feel? How does that feel like for you? Did you get to share your cookbook with your mom?
So unfortunately, I didn't get to share my cookbook with my mom. She passed away in 2016. Um, and my
My
brother passed
apologies.
away, thank you, in 2023. And those were like two of my big inspirations when it comes to food. My brother was always like encouraging me. So again, I said I didn't want to do it. And when I came back around, he was like, all right, you got it. I support you. Um, but I dedicated my book to them. My cookbook is called Rashad Eats the World Using Your Palate as a Passport. And it is 4 chapters of recipes that I grew up eating, as well as recipes that I've adapted from my travels. So it's like taking you on a journey around the world and you don't even have to leave your kitchen.
Yeah, I am. My sincere condolences about you experiencing those losses, and I'm sure they're very
Thank you.
proud about the work that you've done and how far you have come when it comes to your work as well. And thank you for sharing that as well. Really appreciate that. I want to talk about something I read. I mean, when I was reading about trying to have this conversation, I saw where you had mentioned that you look at food as a bridge to cultural connection. Can you tell me a little bit what you mean by the bridge to cultural connection?
Yes. So I like to use food to bring people together, especially people who look like me. Like my ultimate goal is for people to travel and see the world. And I just feel like it's the easiest way to grab people's attention is food because we all eat. Um, and one of the reasons why I cook food from all over the world because I feel like people who look like me, if you see me cooking these ingredients, you might trust a little more. You might have this preconceived notion about a certain type of food, and you see somebody who looks like you enjoying it or making it, breaking it down. Because I feel like we all use, similar ingredients. We just prepare them a different way. And my hope is that someone will try a dish and it sparks a curiosity to learn more about that culture and then eventually travel to, where that culture originates.
Yeah. Has there been any meal that has made you, or has there been any meal that has helped you discover a new culture or a new way of life? Or did you try a meal and be like, oh, I have to go to this country where this meal originated from?
Yes. So growing up in Minnesota, when I was younger, our food scene wasn't as diverse. But, after moving around and living in New York, trying Caribbean food really like woke my palate up. And I'm like, this is so good. And I remember thinking that all Caribbean food was like Jamaican food. And I tried Trinidadian food for the first time and that it blew me away. And it was like a mix between, say Jamaican food and Indian food, and it was just such a good fusion. And I remember tasting it and being like, I need to know what this is about. And that's Trinidad and Tobago is one of my favorite places that I've traveled to in the world, hands down.
That is pretty cool. I want to try Trinidadian Trinidadian food, basically. Yeah, you talk about growing up in Minnesota and how back in the day it wasn't as expansive when it came to food. How would you rate the scene right now? I also know that you kind of moved away and you're back in the state, but we can talk about that as well. But I want to start by just giving me your overview of what you think is the what how would you rate the food scene right now in let me not say Minnesota in general, in the Twin Cities. Let's start. Let's do the Twin Cities for now.
It's very different. I feel like a tourist in my own city now. Now that I'm back home, there's so much more. It's so much more diverse. I love seeing more Southeast Asian restaurants like on the forefront. Like, I went to a fine dining Hmong restaurant, and I thought that was so cool because living in other places, I have a love for Southeast Asian food, and I would talk about like Hmong and Lao food in other places, and they had no idea what it was. And then to come home and see that there are like full-fledged restaurants and fine dining concepts that feature that cultural food, I think that's amazing. So it makes
Yeah.
me excited for the Minnesota and the Twin Cities food scene in general.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I really like. I tell people that I really like the food in the Twin Cities. And I would like to have traveled quite a bit as well. And I think that we do. I feel like we have the means to be able to say, okay, we also have some great food here
Hmm.
from different cultures, and like you said, the Southeast Asian food as well. I love, one of my favorite restaurants is Kaluna. I love Kaluna. I love Gainoi.
Ooh, Ganoi. I
So
went there for my birthday. It was so good.
it is really good, and I go there a lot. It's like 2 blocks from me, so so it was like I'm always there. And the Kaluna's brunch is pretty cool as well. But also even just other like steak houses or seafood places are popping up as well. So that's pretty cool. I have a curiosity around when you decided to move, and because I'm guessing you were in Houston for a bit. So you talked about being in New York. What was that like? Just being in different places that were not the Twin Cities, and what lessons did you learn from those cities?
So I moved away when I was 21. I studied theater and dance. And so I moved to Atlanta first because I wanted to pursue my dance career. And that was like a lesson in itself, just like a young person in a big city, not knowing much about life in general. I think it like grew
Yeah,
me up really fast, especially because I was there chasing a dream. And
yeah,
then when I got my job as a flight attendant, it allowed me to live wherever I wanted because I was based in New
yeah.
York the entire time. And so all I had to do was get to work. And so there were other cities that I wanted to explore, and I did. And that was really fun. And I think that all the different cities have different cultural influences, which kind of influence my taste and how I cook. Especially living in Houston is one of like the most culturally diverse cities in the U.S. Um, Same with the food scene. And that really just like made me super excited to eat and to cook just because like you have everything at your fingertips. And then moving back home, I moved back home for a job. I'm currently a food sovereignty and safety coordinator at a nonprofit in Minneapolis. So I run the food program, and we do like weekly community meals. We do community engagement events like cooking classes, grocery distributions, and I feel it feels good because not only does it feel like a give back, I can also put myself into it. So, we have to serve well-rounded meals, but with that, I try to serve meals, from different cultures that maybe the community has never tried before. So I'm always like sticking Rashad East the world in there somewhere. So yeah, and that's what got me back home.
And that is pretty cool. How has it been back home though for you from a personal level? How are you feeling about? Because I tend to think that living, you left for a reason, and you're back for a good cause, but it's also like a shift, right? From what you're used to, from your friends that you've made along the way, from a familiarity that even though this is home, but you've gotten used to somewhere else as well. And also talking about Houston. Houston, like you said, is way more culturally diverse than the Twin Cities. And
Hmm.
so how was adjusting into being back here? How's that been like for you in general, just on a personal level?
I feel like life has definitely slowed down since I've been back. But again, it's been so long since I've lived here. I feel like a tourist. It's like this familiar, unfamiliar feeling that I have because, there's family. I know my way around, but then things are so different. Sometimes I go out and I'm out and about. I don't know anyone. And it's like, because so much has changed.
Yeah.
But I mean, Also, like I left for more opportunities, and I feel like when I left, I chased them. But now that I'm back, I feel like I can create more opportunities, like not only for myself, but for the people around me, just because like I've been in a different space and experienced different things that, may not be so familiar here in the Twin Cities. And so I'm hoping to, you know, bring a little something that I picked up along the way.
That's really good to hear. I appreciate you saying that. That's really good to hear. And my next question kind of, references that a little bit. And I know I kind of like went off tangent based on your based on your responses and everything. But I was gonna ask you about, because I noticed just looking at your content, how it, from when you started, you could see this shift and how it has evolved over time. And I'm sure there are various experiences that have shaped that journey and that evolution in itself. But what has been the hardest part or the most challenging piece about growing and evolving as a renowned, known person who is doing content creation, who is a chef in that space? What are some of the challenges that you face, and how do you navigate those things?
When I really like got into it and I decided that like I'm going to be a content creator, the first thing that popped in my head, I was like, I'm going to be the Black gay Martha Stewart. Okay. Martha
Mm-hmm.
Stewart does not
Mm-hmm.
miss a dollar or a category. And that is something that I'm striving for. So in the beginning, it was just about food, right? It was about food from all over the world. And then I had the opportunity to be able to travel a lot. And so I started including that travel content. And then more recently, I've started to introduce some more like content. So you'll see a skincare routine here and there. I want the platform to be like well rounded. Like it is Rashad Eats the World. So food will always be at the center of it. But my goal is to be a household name. So, when you think of Rashad Eats the World, not only are you going to think about good food, you're going to think about travel. You're going to think about your luggage. You're going to think about how you decorate your home. You're going to think about the fragrance you're wearing, your skincare routine. So yeah, that is the direction it's going in.
Okay, okay, cool. And the Black Game Artist Stewards, that is a piece, that is a place that nobody's occupying currently that I know of. So you're currently on your way there. What is and I know that definitely you can get there. Because I feel like you have all the means to do that as well. But what does that look like also? Because I feel like that also comes a lot of pressure, right? Because of you're trying to create a space for yourself in this very, I don't want to say saturated industry, right? But there are so many voices now with the advent of social media, with the advent of technology. Everybody is doing these things. So how are you navigating that? Navigating all the, I don't want to call it noise, but noise in quotes, right? How are you navigating that
Yeah.
so that your lane can be mapped out properly?
I think just continuing to be like my genuine self because I feel like being a content creator right now, you can literally find your favorite content creator and you can copy it and then like people still will consume your content. But there is no one that I know of that does what I do. So when I talk about food or when I talk about travel, it's from a different lens. It's not, I'm not reviewing food. I'm talking about it in a different way because I know food. I have food knowledge. When I'm talking about a destination, I have that knowledge because I was a flight attendant. So it's like, okay, you've been here. You may have been a couple of times. You are well traveled versus just like, oh, I went on a trip, went on a girls trip and, this is where I went. This is where I stayed. I'm like, I can actually speak to it from a different lens. Also, I think like authentically being myself. There's only one of me. I do think there are maybe some similarities with other content creators, but there's only one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's real. That's real. I'm also curious about, you're talking about all of these things that you're doing, right? And so you have the love for food, the love for being a lifestyle content creator, the love for sharing all of these things, but also creating content is a lot of work. Like it's a lot of work to get up and edit and do all the things and get your right lighting and all this stuff. And so how do you make sure that the love that you have for doing this work doesn't get drowned out from all the other technicalities that are involved, having to stay up till late editing a video, for example. How do you balance it out? I would want to know for myself, because I also feel like I'm in that boat sometimes too. How do you navigate that you keep the love still strong inside?
I like I listen to myself, I listen to my body. If I don't feel like it, I don't. I mean, of course, there are times if I'm doing, a partnership, there are deadlines, and so you have to do it. If I'm doing a series, I have to challenge myself to make sure that I get it out. But if I'm ever experiencing burnout, I take a pause. I take a step back. Numbers can fluctuate if you pause too long, but I just feel like at the end of the day, I have a loyal following. Um, Everybody who follows me, they don't necessarily engage with my content. They don't necessarily purchase, but the ones that do, we thank you. Okay. But yeah, when I don't want to, I don't. I was just really busy over the past couple of months, and I was doing this balancing act of, you know, opportunity I had and work and content creation. And I got home and I said, you know what, I need a break. So I've taken a break. I'm just getting things back started, and I'm like, what's meant to be will be. If you're gonna be there, you're gonna be there. But yes, if I need to take a break,
Hmm.
I do just that.
Awesome. Awesome. That's pretty cool. I really appreciate you breaking that down and sharing that as well.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned, being Black and gay. Especially now in 2026 is a little bit, it's been a very interesting time for us as queer folks, and as Black queer folks as well. What are you doing for self-care in this moment? How are you taking care of yourself and your body?
I just continuing to be myself, just showing up authentically, not hiding who I am from anyone. Um, I always say like it took me a long time to get comfortable in my skin, and I don't care who it is or who is president. Like I'm still going to be me.
That's real. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. We have some very light, fun, rapid fire questions that we want you to answer.
Okay.
So I'm gonna share that with you now. So we're gonna start off with we love music on this podcast, but we like to know what the people are listening to. So
Mm.
what are the current songs on your playlist right now?
Mm. Ooh. Okay. So this morning in the gym, I started with BBB by Juvenile and Megan Thee Stallion. Got me going. And
Okay,
then when I, when I was
okay.
leaving out the gym, I played that and then just kind of like kept feeding songs based off of that. And then when I was leaving, there was a song called "Teach You How to Love Me" by YG and Ty Dolla $ign.
Mm-hmm.
Fire. And
Okay.
Beyonce can play on my playlist at any time. I love Beyonce down to the ground, but I'm trying to give it a break because I know Act Three is coming up. So I'm gonna play it out.
Act 3 is coming soon. You talk about travel a lot. You love to travel. What's your favorite travel destination?
Favorite travel destination? It would definitely have to be Trinidad and Tobago. Food,
Okay.
music, culture, just best place I've been to. I want to top it, but it's very hard. Number two
Did you go
would
to
probably
Carnival
have
there?
yes. And I think that was it. I think that's
Okay.
what did it for me. It was amazing. My number two destination would probably have to be Greece because it is just absolutely beautiful and the food's good.
Okay. Shout out to Grace and Trinidad and Tobago. What is your favorite food to make?
I wouldn't say I have a favorite food to make, but I always say if I'm ever in a pinch and I just have to make something off the top of my head, it's probably going to be something Caribbean or Southeast Asian. My two favorite foods I
Okay.
like to eat.
Okay, cool. That's good. If you could host a dinner party with 5 people, who would you invite?
Martha Stewart.
Okay.
I also would invite Anthony Bourdain, alive or dead, doesn't matter.
We could do both. We could do alive and dead. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So Martha Stewart, Anthony Bourdain, Beyonce, because I just want to pick her brain. How do you do it?
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. What are the TV shows you're watching right now?
I'm watching Paradise and
I love
Real
hearing that.
Housewives so good. Like I fell asleep on the last episode, so I gotta get back into it. Also, Real Housewives of Atlanta just came back on, and like I am a Real
Mm-hmm.
Housewives fan down to the ground. When I was a flight attendant, one of my groups of friends, we all had these bag tags that said "Real Flight Attendants of NYC" because we were like super fans. Oh,
Okay,
cool.
okay. I love that. Who are like your top three housewives of all time?
Top three of all time. Nene Leakes, she's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Cosby from Salt Lake City,
Okay.
and I'm trying to think who's my favorite from Potomac, because Potomac is one of my favorites. I
Dr.
don't know,
Wendy?
they all done got on my nerves at one point. Who's my favorite from Potomac? I don't know. Sometimes I wish they would bring Katie back. Katie was unhinged and she brought
Oh.
a little spice to the show.
There's the scene with Katie and Ashley that I love so much. Where they were like, is it do I think you're stupid? Yeah, I do think you're
She was
stupid.
like,
I
I do
was
think
like,
you're
oh my god,
stupid.
Katie.
She was like, actually, I don't think you're stupid. I think you're dumb. It's like, that's why I love
Yeah,
her.
that's what she said. That was hilarious. I was like, she had me
Yeah.
laughing. Yeah, I like Potomac as well. I'll say if Housewives franchises, yes. I'll say it's Atlanta, Potomac, and Salt Lake City for me in like top
Mm-hmm.
three. But honestly, those are the only ones I watch anyway. So I don't know if I only watch Atlanta,
Guilty.
Potomac, and Salt Lake City, and then I started Rhode Island, which just premiered, and
That's
that's also really
right.
good as well. And
I'm going to
so,
have to watch.
so that yeah, it's good. I enjoyed it. The first two episodes are out, they're really good. And then I like Married to Medicine,
Oh,
which
love
is my
Married to
favorite show on
Medicine.
Bravo. Yeah, and so
So
yeah,
what's
I do
funny
enjoy some
is
reality TV.
what's funny is living in Atlanta, I got to meet a lot of reality stars. I used to work in retail when I first moved there years ago. And
Okay.
Dr. Jackie was one of the clients who would come in my store. Mariah, who else? Quad. Atlanta is like a big city, but it's so small. Even like I met Jocelyn Hernandez like before the show like aired, like she had already filmed it. And I'm like, who is this lady? And she came in, she had her headphones on and like very loud colors. And she was like, you got this in a size small, baby? I'm just in a, just being herself. And I'm like, girl. And then I like, weeks later, I see her on TV. And then Quad came into my store before the show had aired. And she was looking for something. And she was like, she asked, she's like, I need a shirt, but it can't be like this. And I was like, well, do you mind like sharing, like, what it's for so I can point you something in the right direction? And she was like, I can't say what TV show, but it's for a TV show. And I was like, okay. She didn't know wearing a shirt because I looked. But yeah, it was like really cool. And like Dr. Jackie, like
Yeah.
when I say like knew her, and then I'm like, wait, you on the show? You didn't say nothing. And she was like, yeah, I'm on the show. Like it was cool living in Atlanta. You get to meet so many people.
Yeah, I love Atlanta. It's such a very fun city. I love it a lot, and that's cool that you got to experience and meet those people through different facets of your life. You had all those experiences, so
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty cool as well. Another rapid fire question: what is your controversial food opinion? What's the one that would get you in trouble?
I don't know. I'm a fan of candy corn. Like candy corn mixed with popcorn, I think is like delicious. And
Oh.
outside of Minnesota, I've introduced so many people to tater tot hot dish, and they're like, "What is that?" Oh my god, it's so good.
You know what's funny? I've never had that before, ever in my life. And I've been
What?
living here for like 5 years, and so yes, never had it before. So maybe I need to try it.
I gotta
Maybe I
make
need
this
to add it
fun.
to my list. Please, I would really appreciate. Okay. And the final rapid fire question: what is your guilty pleasure?
Reality TV, The
Mm,
Housewives. I don't miss it. I love a good episode of Baddies. Can't watch more than
okay,
one and four, but I do.
okay, that's cool. I'm here for it. Hey, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Um, our final question before we wrap up this episode: when people experience your work, when they see your content, when they check out a recipe that you have shared, what do you hope they walk away feeling or understanding?
I hope they walk away with a curiosity about that culture of that food that they tried. Yeah, and I want them to be curious about it. I want them to explore. I want them to travel. I always, I aspire to inspire because I'm regular, degular. And if you've always wanted to travel, but you felt like, oh, I can't do that, I'm like, I did. I didn't know how, but I figured it out, you know? So I want them to feel
Yeah.
inspired and sense of curiosity.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Rashad, for coming on Odejuma. It's been such a great time talking with you and getting to know you a little better. We really appreciate you sharing your gift with us. And I'm going to link all the things linkable so folks can connect with you on social media and whatever projects that you have as well. I will share in the description for folks to see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. This is fun.
No problem at all. And for folks who watched or listened to this podcast, thank you for checking us out. Don't forget to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple or Amazon, don't forget to also use the follow button as well. Thank you for listening and for being here with us today. Odejuma.